What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Two Game Podcast. Disney officially cancels The Acolyte after one season, and I'm pretty sure that none of us are surprised by this, and a lot of us are glad by this at the same time. Now, Nick and I reviewed every single episode of the Acolyte series, which you can catch right here at this link. Go check out what we think about each individual episode of season 1 of the Acolyte. So how do I feel about season 1 being canceled? I know I had more positive thoughts and opinions on season 1 as the season progressed, and especially after the finale, which, I mean, the finale was, I don't want to say okay, but it was like right there between being bad and okay. It was kind of unsatisfying more than anything, which the entire damn season was. So that really kind of begs the question of, did we deserve, did we need a season 2 of The Acolyte? And is this really just great news? I think it's actually good news, guys. Look, not only did this cause so much turmoil between Star Wars fans across the world because of just how divisive this show was. I mean, people were having trouble just even criticizing it. So really, I'm not upset by the fact that I won't have to deal with this bullshit again in 1 year. But let me say this. While the series did improve and while it did leave some questions unanswered and all that, I don't think that there was really anything in this series in season 1 that happened that I was like, wow, really? I'm super disappointed that they're not going to continue that storyline and for us not to figure out what happens after that point. Nothing really happened to suggest that I would want a season 2. I mean, if they gave it to me, would I still watch it? Sure, I'd watch it. Wouldn't be happy about it, but I mean, I do have to review the series and whatnot. But I'm not necessarily upset by this news. I think this is good news because I think that this series was just, I don't want to use the word abomination for Star Wars, but it was an abomination for Star Wars, guys. Like this, the writing was so atrocious. The characters were so bad. The acting was so bad. It's hard to look at all the good things that this show did. Now, I made the statement in my review that for everything that they did right in this show, they did 2 or 3 things wrong. And not just like wrong, but like pissed every single Star Wars fan off kind of wrong. And yes, I'm disappointed that I won't get Darth Plagueis in a TV show for probably a long time now. But let's be fair here, I wasn't a huge fan of how they introduced him in that season finale. I just think one of the biggest issues with the show in general was the fact that they just did not understand how to create not only relatable characters, but characters that you could just root for and care for. Let's be fair here, they barely wrote characters at all. And I know I've made this point several times in other reviews. Like, we got the Twisters movie, and then we got here recently Alien Romulus. 2 amazing female leads in those movies. Like, they really developed those characters, made you care for them, and they were fucking badass on top of that. And we have May and Osha in this show, the female lead. Okay, that's fine. I'm down with that. But then they just give us shitty female protagonists, and I wasn't a fan of really just any character in this show. I mean, hell, in episode 1, they killed off what was probably the most interesting and best actor on the entire show, which was Master Trinity. And then Master Saul, who was probably the most interesting character up until, the last 2 episodes. And then he just did a nosedive, and they just completely changed his character on a whim. We need to move on, not only as a fan base, but Lucasfilm needs to really just look themselves in the mirror and say, how did we fuck up right here? Like, what did we do so wrong that everybody hated us and hated this show? Well, first off, you gave us shitty characters. You had a shitty script. But on top of that, you kind of just shit all over Star Wars in general. Now, I'm not going to be the one that sits here and kind of complains about some of those little minor lore changes because, I mean, guys, look, continuity issues are going to happen when you have a long-running series such as Star Wars, and then you go back in time and try to write new stuff. You're going to have continuity issues. But it's just some of the changes that they made, some of the things that they did on the show just didn't sit right with me, and was just like, how did you think that was a good idea? And the thing that comes to mind, and probably the worst Star Wars moment of all time, is the power of mini chant. It is god awful. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. So it was just numerous things that kind of led to the downfall of this show. And the fight choreography was fantastic. Whoever did the choreography on this show, keep him around. Bring him back for another season of something else, or a brand new show or something. And the idea was great. If you ask any Star Wars fan, if you pitch to them the idea that, hey, this show was going to be based from the perspective of the Sith, it was going to kind of show their rise, they were going to be lurking in the shadows, and it was going to be kind of like a murder mystery style show, I'm telling you, I did not talk to a Star Wars fan that was against that idea. But let me tell you, that is not what we got in this season. It was not from the Sith perspective. There was one episode that was kind of from his perspective. And then we never had a murder mystery because, well, you showed who the character was in like episode 1 or 2. Now, granted, we didn't know who the stranger was or Kymir was at the time, but everybody had their guesses. Now, personally, I feel bamboozled because I thought they would have been a little bit smarter at the time to pick somebody else to be the Sith there. But no, they just played it stupid. But regardless, guys, that idea, that core idea of what this show was going to be before they ever started pre-production and production of the show was a great idea. It was there. They just shit the bed. They just shit the bed. But regardless, guys, I'm perfectly okay with the Acolyte being canceled. Y'all let me know down in the comments below of what you thought about Acolyte Season 1 and whether or not you are mad or upset by the fact that it got canceled. But that's going to be it for me, and I'll catch y'all next time on another episode. Laters.